Hello friends. The right hand is generally the second one we put on the golf club, with the notable exception, I think, of Sergio Garcia. And the reason is simple: it goes on top of the left hand. So the left hand's established in ways I've described in another video. And then there's certainly a tradition about how the right hand should be attached. And most people generally use Ben Hogan's illustration as the guide. In fact, he has a picture of himself attaching the right hand on the cover of one of his more recent editions of his famous book. The objective was to hook the middle two fingers around like a channel and butt them up against the left forefinger, and then lower the palm, which conveniently is similarly shaped to the curve of the thumb, over the left thumb to, as I always described it to my clients, to hermetically seal it. We don't want gaps in there and we don't want it changing. We're looking for security. And so that thumb fits that pocket that goes down the middle of the right palm, and you put that over the top. And then with regard to the little finger, Harry Vardon at the end of the 19th century, who won 6 British Opens, was generally acknowledged to be the person who invented the overlapping grip, or the Vardon grip as it was commonly called. Now, interestingly, Tommy Armour, who taught a few years after Harry Vardon, he said that he had seen other champions using the overlapping grip before Harry Vardon made it popularized or became associated with it. Sounds like a little bit of professional sort of competitiveness. But anyway, the overlapping grip had the little finger of the right hand hooked around the knuckle, actually into the crease, the groove between the forefinger and the second finger of the left hand. Some people, depending on the shapes of their hand and maybe their flexibility, would ride the little finger on top of the left forefinger, but it was generally agreed that that was a less beneficial variant, and that the security derived by hooking that around was actually valuable. Now, with regard to the forefinger and thumb, it gets quite a lot of attention in the literature of golf, which of course goes back over 100 years. And there has been a fashion, a trend. The right forefinger and thumb is generally placed in such a way that it forms a V with the forefinger and thumb. And I always describe it to my clients as a Y. A Y is a V with a stick on it. And we used to take a 6-penny piece, a small coin like a dime, and put it in that crease, the stick on the Y, to prove that it was closed. And that was actually derived from Ben Hogan, who thought that that should be pressed together over the top of the golf club, because he thought that that best matched the requirements of the dynamics of applying force on the downswing. All of this was to prepare to hit the golf ball. Now, the forefinger and thumb over the years was a subject of some variance, and one could almost say a fashionable drift in terms of whether it should be squeezed or released. And back to Ben Hogan again, he thought that it should be possible to actually hit a golf ball with them both removed from the club, and that one should practice it. You'd be pushing against the club with that interior on the palm portion of the right forefinger under the knuckle, and that would be pushing against the golf club to apply force. But the forefinger and thumb didn't need to be there to make that work. So he actually advocated that. Now, earlier, there were champions like Tommy Armour who thought that the right forefinger and thumb should squeeze quite firmly and, as he always described it, lash the ball. And he thought that they were essential in being able to do that. Now, fast forward a couple of generations, you get to Jack Nicklaus. He said that when he first started playing, he thought that the right forefinger and thumb should be firmly on the golf club, held that way and used, and that later in his career he sort of drifted away from that and then started to adopt the thought, as did Ben Hogan, that the middle two fingers were more important and that these less so. So you can see a little fashion in there. Now, my own findings are that for most people, even though it can be abused, it's valuable to have the right forefinger and thumb firmly closed onto the golf club and gripped in such a way that they can be used. Because in fact, the security issue again, when you get to the end of the backswing and all of the momentum of the club is heading in that direction and its inertia is to be overcome, if this is not well established, then it's easily distorted, and that usually comes with cost. So here's how I teach people how to adopt the right amount of security with the grip. Once they've formed the grip the way I've just described, I recommend that they walk up and hook the golf club under something secure. Let's try the table here. And then put the grip on the way that they've been devising, and then pull. I don't want to pull my coffee over, but I'm going to pull gently. And it's pulling that we're trying to determine and reposition subtly the hands, both of them, until it feels secure and can't be easily changed. Because that security is important. I think that that pulling action, almost like you're holding a rope, is more characteristic of what golf requires from us than holding it like a fist, like a hammer hitting something. And so the pulling action really gives you a clue about how to subtly position the hands together to be optimal. So that's the right hand. Excellent.